Do you feel emotionally connected to your plants? As if in the process of caring for them, they as well are caring for you? What about planty DIYs and thrifting for plant items? If I have your attention, then the Plants by Wade Lee podcast is for you. Join me, plant friends, as we dig deep and experience the magic of plants. People, thank you so much for tuning in to the 20th episode of the Plants by Wade Lee podcast. I'm so excited to have Mads from Mads Plant Life. Welcome to the pod. I was so confused when I wrote you and asked, could you come on an hour early? And your response was, no, I have to deal with the alpacas and the goats' nails. And I was like, showed the message to my husband. I'm like, who am I speaking to? I'm like this very beautiful and put together plant Instagram. And then I'm like, wow, you live on a farm. This is so awesome. So welcome. I'm so excited to talk to you. Like I said off camera, like this is part of the magic of getting to know all of the plant accounts that we love and a little bit, deeper, because we show one facet of our life, and let's be realistic. We're much more than just plants at the end of the day. But I'd love to talk to you about like how you got started. I know that you had saw a Pinterest of Elbow Monstera, and that was kind of the thing that clicked in your head that, oh, I think that I want to be a plant collector.
Yeah. So my goodness, where do I even begin? So I was born and raised in Southeast Asia in a little country called Brunei. And anyways, Brunei is like right by Indonesia, Malaysia, just, the perfect place to grow any tropical plant. I hated plants back then. Surprise. Hated them. I would tear off the leaves off my mum's plants. She wouldn't even notice because the leaves would just grow back within days. So yeah, and then at 16, we moved from Brunei to a country called UAE, in a little town called Al Ain, based in Abu Dhabi. And yeah, at that point when I moved, that's when I started to get into plants. I kind of went on Pinterest because I didn't know where else to go. Like Google Images kind of with, your officey plants, which I wasn't really into at the time. But Pinterest was pulling out these beautiful pictures of icons, of Monstera elbows. And looking back, I think a lot of the plants that I did save on Pinterest were fake, but they still probably exist for sure, but I think they were definitely very, very edited. But yeah, that's kind of how I got into plants. Was I was quite homesick from moving from Brunei to the desert.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I got
What
into
year
that.
was that, Mads?
Oh, okay. I moved from Brunei to Al Ain. 2013. 2012? Okay. 2012.
So you've been collecting plants for a...
So I actually started collecting plants when I moved to New Zealand. So I lived in Al Ain for about 2 years. And then
you were just racking up all the... Excuse me, I'm sorry, love. You were just racking up all the Pinterest pictures. You're just putting them in a folder of all these plants that you were going to manifest having. This is so cool. Yeah. So, and then continue, sorry.
No, you're fine. I've honestly been on such a long journey, especially with plants. Yeah. So New Zealand, and then I was like, right, let's start collecting plants. And then I went to the plant shop and I went, oh. And at the time they didn't have a lot of variety in plants, but I really loved the Monsteras because I hadn't seen a Monstera since Brunei, so that was a couple of years back. So I would literally just go into these plant stores here in New Zealand and just stare at these plants for hours on end because I was like, oh my goodness, they are so beautiful. They're not quite the Pinterest photos, but still nonetheless. And I remember there was one time I got kicked out of a plant shop because I was there for so long, just staring. I couldn't afford them because I was a uni student. Yeah. So
that's amazing. And then just how it always happens, right? You get one plant and then 2, 3, 4, and then you turn around, you have over 100 plants.
Yes. So back when I had to be a bit thrifty when I was a
Yeah.
uni student, I would get cuttings off plants from outside. I would bring them into my uni hostel, and sometimes I would exchange like plant cuttings with some of the uni hostel students. It was so wholesome. It was so much fun. And so, yeah, I tried to cram in as many plants as I could into my really shoebox uni hostel room. And I
That's
think
amazing.
I think I gathered about 20 or 30 plants, which is quite impressive.
Yeah, yeah, with cuttings and in a little room. Do you have any of those plants still?
I've only got 2 of them, and they
That's
are
impressive
both
though.
packed up. Yeah, it's
That's
still
so
quite
cool.
impressive. They are my oldest plants, and I'm very proud of them.
That's awesome. That leads me into like, what is your favorite plant in your collection?
That's a hard question because I have quite a few plants that are doing really well and all my favorites.
Right?
But I think my Monstera
Yeah.
Albo is my favorite. She
Yeah.
has done so well. She has been literally my easiest plant, which is
How long have you had her?
just over a year, and she's almost the size of me now, pretty much. It's crazy.
And you have her on a pole.
Yes, I do. I have her on a grow thickly pole, one of my faves.
Yeah.
And I use tree fern fiber in the grow pole.
Okay, that's very cool. I've never heard of this.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a very popular substrate in like the US and UK. I know it's quite expensive for you guys, but tree fern fiber is actually collected here in New Zealand, I believe. And I believe 90% of tree fern fiber from New Zealand is supplied to the world. That's what I've heard. Oh, and spag moss, I believe, as well, is mainly from New Zealand. But I think New Zealand supplies maybe 70 or 80% of spag moss to the world. I could be totally wrong, but this is what I've read.
So the fern, it's a fern or it's a moss? It's a fern, right?
Yes, it is a fern. Yeah, and apparently we grow so much of it here in New Zealand. I mean, I know we grow a lot of it because we live by jungle here, and there's just ferns everywhere you look.
Yeah, that's so cool. And she loves it. I mean, she looks beautiful.
Thank you so much. A lot of my plants, I mean, all of my plants that are on grow poles, they all have tree fern fiber because that is my holy grail substrate is tree fern fiber.
Do you have to fertilize the fern fiber?
I mean, I do. I don't think you necessarily have to, but yeah, I just look at it as a normal substrate like spag moss or perlite. I do it in the exact same way.
Right. And how often do you do that?
So every time I water my plants, they get fertilized. And I alter the amount depending on what season we're in.
Yeah. And do you suffer from a lot of like browning from your elbow?
No. So my Thai constellation definitely is more prone to browning, but I think that might be because it needs a bit more light. Whereas, my elbow hasn't really had any browning whatsoever. So I'm being very lucky.
And what kind of lighting do you have her in? Grow lights, or there's also natural light too?
So she's actually purely from the sunlight. She lives literally right by my window during the winter and autumn months. And then summertime, I think I put her away a little bit, like a meter away from the window, because it's so bright and hot, and obviously I don't want her getting burnt. So
yeah,
I
love it. She's beautiful. Yeah, I pulled my elbow out too because she just had a new leaf, and I was like, oh, I'm talking to Mads. Like, let me grab my elbow as well to put her out. This one's from She Digs Dirt, and she's doing really well.
Oh, cute.
Yeah, I need to put her on a pole because she's still a little baby, but yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I love the plant community too, because it's so fun, like even jumping on these calls, and it's like I'm talking to my friends that I met at, plant camp years ago. So it's fun to like hear your stories as well.
Yeah.
You had shared that you have two goats and two alpacas. Am I saying the name right?
Yeah,
Alpaca? Three.
alpacas.
Alpacas,
Yes.
yes, alpacas. Three alpacas and two goats.
Yes, I do.
It's so interesting that I said to you that I was like, I've never seen any of these animals before, but you have another account that you have them on.
I do. Yeah, so we had a couple of deaths last year or the year before. Yeah, unfortunately, we had a couple of deaths in COVID. So I think that's when I stopped filming them a little bit because I was like, oh, I was so sad about these deaths and I haven't really picked it back up ever since. So yeah, I
Hmm.
definitely want to pick a bit more. I'm actually thinking about doing a little video, my animals reacting to my houseplants, but I'm truly scared that they're going to start eating them. So
Right?
I
Yeah.
don't know if that's the best idea. But yeah, I definitely want to be on my account in some way. But yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, maybe you could take a picture of them and then have them judge your plants or something so they're not
Yes.
right there in front of them.
You're judging
Could
them
you
from a distance.
imagine the goat taking a big chomp out of the elbow?
My elbow. Oh my god. No. I
You
would
would die.
cry. Why?
So tell me a little bit about how you got started on social media,
Yeah,
because you started the plant
that's
collection and then you just started taking pictures and joining the plant community.
so I started taking photos before I started collecting plants because I just kept taking photos. So every time me and my mum would go grocery shopping when I was living in Al Ain in Abu Dhabi, they had like this little stand of like cacti and little succulents. And that's how I kind of got started, I guess, was that was kind of the first plants that I was like in person that I was like,
Yeah,
these. I started taking photos of them and I just shared them on social media because I was like, oh, these are so cool. Like, no one's taking pictures and doing that. And the response I got from just these photos were just crazy. People were like, oh my gosh, where did you find these? And I'm just like, my local supermarket. It was
it's
just as
so
simple as
cool.
that. Yeah, and then I was very into fashion back then as well. So I would take like fashion photos, outfits, and I would include plants. And what was hilarious about that was people weren't very interested in what I was wearing. They were just caring about the plants I was
I love
including
that.
in those photos. And
Yeah,
yeah, I just started getting more and more questions about the plants and I just thought to myself, well, I guess this is it. I'm just destined to do plants. And yeah, I that's when I really started doing some research on plants and I started posting quite regularly back in 2014. So I've been on this app, well, Instagram for over 10 years now, which is
wow.
wild. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so wild because so many people that I talk to on the pod are like, "Oh yeah, it was a plantdemic." During the plantdemic that we call it. That everyone started collecting plants. I mean, it wasn't necessarily because of the pandemic that I started, but that's about the same time. Like 4 years ago is when I started. But 10 years in the game is a long time.
It's a
10
very long time.
longer. You said 10?
10-ish. I mean, I
10ish,
was I
yeah.
was on Instagram 2013 and I took interest in around that time in plants. But yeah, that's and then I started regularly posting at the end of 2013 and onwards. So,
And
yeah,
th- and
just
that's
over 10.
and this is your same account?
Yes, this is
Yeah,
my
that's
same
oh
account.
my gosh, that's awesome. So you could scroll back to the fashion and plants.
Yes, I did delete some of them because I was a little embarrassed
Aw,
at my fashion
I'm
sense,
sure they were
but some of them are
amazing.
still up there.
I mean, you're a world traveler, so I'm sure that, and you always look amazing. So I'm sure the outfits were
Thank
adorable. Yeah, I love watching your videos. They always make me smile, and your plants are so beautiful. So beautiful. You take
Thank you
such
so much.
beautiful care of them. I
It
love
took
that.
me a really long time to figure out how to take care of plants because I have killed collections upon collections of plants, Wade. I'm not even exaggerating because there was so much lack of information back in
Yeah.
2014 at plants. There was so much general information. There was also so many plant accounts that were trying to sell like scam courses for you to take on how to take care of plants.
Yeah.
And I'm one of the lucky ones that didn't fall into that trap. And so, they would say, oh, buy this course today so you can figure out how to make this, your plant as big as mine. But in reality, they were like either living in Florida or, in Indonesia somewhere where, plants were just growing like that in nature without them doing anything.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was definitely a really difficult time being on social media in that point with plants because I just felt like a lot of people were spreading false information about them, which I really despise so much.
Yeah.
um, so yeah, at that point, I did lose a little bit of interest in the content creation side of things because I don't know, people were just being really fake about their plants. And I would always ask people, what about the plant fails? What about, surely you've got so many plants, but surely you've killed some. And,
Yeah.
back then they would never admit that. But now what I love, especially since COVID has happened and all of that, because there's more plant people, well, I feel like there's more plant people now online. People
Yeah.
are finally the truth about how to
Right.
take plants and grow lights and all of that. So yeah, I'm just so thankful that there's more people in the plant community who are finally spreading, sharing their truths, and there's no such thing as gatekeeping anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
Everything,
Well,
it's so good.
yeah, and I think there's something to be said about plant sales because you can't sell a plant and continue to, have a business and not teach your consumer how to keep and care for the plant.
Yeah.
Is there a plant in your collection that you have unalived but continue to buy because you love it so much?
So I think many people might relate to me on this. I have bought tons upon tons of string of pearl plants. I could not keep them alive for the life of me. I've only just recently kind of figured them out. I'll
Yeah.
show you one of them that I have. I'm super proud of this one. She is so bushy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's
I've got,
beautiful.
thank you so much.
And how long have
Yeah.
you had her?
I've had her now for about a year and a half. And
That's impressive. Very impressive.
she's gone up 3 pot sizes in that time as well. So I am super proud of her. She's so
Yeah.
cute.
She's so bushy. I
Yeah.
love.
I'm a
Have
very
you,
proud parent.
have you propagated her at all?
I have a little bit. I did give her a wee haircut 2 weeks ago. But because I'm in winter, she hasn't like grown anything back yet. But I'm
Yeah.
sure within the next month or so, well, when is spring for me? I don't even know. But I'm in the middle of winter. So yeah, my plants are slowing down on their growth rate, which is totally fair enough. That's what
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah. I love it because we're totally opposite. It's
Yes.
everything's like bonkers. I got it in my car today and it said 110 degrees. I was like, "Are you kidding me right now?"
Oh my gosh.
I'm
No,
in Florida, so
okay,
it's
I thought so. Especially
yeah,
seeing your garden. I saw I think you posted about it the other day, having your beautiful outdoor garden. And I just thought to myself, I want Wade's garden so badly. My garden's here. Nothing
and
like
it's
that.
well, it's amazing because I look at your plants and I'm like, I wish I could have a plant room like this. Like I start off with all these beautiful plants and then they always end up in that miracle garden because they just do so much better. And I'm also getting married in a few months in October. So, and I want all of the centerpieces to be monsteras, the big monstera leaves. So every monstera. I'm like, even if it's like a elbow or something, I've been putting in the garden because I know that it's gonna get, I mean, size up in like 2 months. It's amazing. It's so
I'm so.
cool.
I wish I could throw plants outside and then they just start growing, but
Yeah.
they could never survive New Zealand winter. Never.
What about, yeah, it snows.
No, it doesn't, but it just
No,
gets
it
really
doesn't.
windy and it rains a lot as well. We're kind of like similar to the UK, sort of like weather wise. So a lot of
Right.
the monsteras don't really do that
Yeah,
great.
gloomy, rainy outside. Yeah.
Yeah. We've been lucky
Uh,
today, the sun's out, which is nice.
yeah. What about summer though? Do you put your plants outside in the summer?
I don't. Just, I find it a pain, like,
Yeah.
put them outside. Then when it gets colder, put them back inside. I'm also really worried about them getting pests because it's
Yeah.
just inevitable. No matter what I do, they will always appear. And so I just want to make sure that my plants are pest free as much as possible so they always stay inside. But what I love about like living in New Zealand, it's so humid. So I don't need a humidifier or anything like that to keep up the humidity. We actually have a dehumidifier in here
That's
because the
amazing.
levels of humidity are so high in here. It's crazy. But
Even in the
yeah,
winter?
even in the winter, I've got a
Yeah, because it's
dehumidifier on.
raining so much. Oh, that's, well, it's
It's
great for the plants though. I mean, you have all these anthuriums too that look so beautiful
I
and
yes, I've
like
got so
lush.
much now. Yes,
So, yeah, so you're not even running a humidifier.
no,
That's so
dehumidifier.
amazing. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I know you said that, but I'm just like, let me just reiterate for everyone listening. So, everyone too, there is YouTube, Plants by Wadley on YouTube to watch so you can see the beautiful background as well. Has there ever been a point in your life where you felt plants played a role of really making a switch rather than just like a collection to really a meditation of ritual of self-care for yourself?
Yes, so I have been suffering with anxiety and depression since I was 15. And ever since plants have just been a thought in my mind, they just bring me so much calmness and it really brings me down to earth. And especially when I started collecting so many of them, I just like so this plant area is in my bedroom, and what I love about this is that the second I walk into my bedroom I feel at home, I feel zen, and just yeah, I try to meditate. I also have like little plant crystals as well that I now involve in with my plants, and they just bring me so much joy and happiness. And just whenever I'm feeling stressed, they just really calm me down and it slows my brain down a little bit and
Yeah.
makes me really think things through rather than panicking. So, yeah, they've definitely been a therapy for me, like a genuine therapy session, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's something to be said about our hands touching the soil, you know, like, and even repotting. Many people can go to the beach and get grounded there, but you could be grounded in your own apartment in New York City or, you know, in New Zealand, like
Yeah.
in, you know, in your own bedroom. And it's so cool because there is this energy. I heard on a podcast recently that plants make noises and that cats and dogs can hear them. And that was on the Plant School podcast. And it's interesting that, like, there is this reflection of how plants can teach us about our own well-being. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that.
No worries.
Mads, do you ever go into your mind back to when you did live like in the jungle when you were little and think about like, wow, those plants were just like so amazing. And if I could have that not like as a plant lover, I could only imagine like what that would feel like. And to see that, you know, because in Florida too, like I see, you know, pothos that are incredibly
Massive.
large. Yeah, massive. I mean, and I have a Cebu blue that is fenestrating and growing up my tree. So I
Oh,
can only imagine like really living in like a tropical jungle area and seeing like a monstera just growing naturally and just be like, oh, it means nothing to me.
so I think one of the reasons why I love Monstera albo in particular is I do have this very vivid memory of me and my dad going through the jungle. Like we were trying to find some fruit that was widely grown there. And I remember we stumbled across a Monstera, that albo, that was just casually just growing up the tree. And I remember thinking, that's a very sick looking plant. This is back when I was a kid though, so I
Yeah,
didn't really
yeah.
appreciate. But now I look back and go, oh my god,
Wow.
oh, you were living in your prime environment back then. Like,
Yeah.
why didn't you appreciate these plants? And I remember there was also these beautiful orchids that would climb up the our coconut trees. Me and my mum were actually trying to source these orchids because we both miss them so much, but they're so
Wow.
expensive per cutting. I think they're around, oh, 300 US for a little cutting of
Wow.
orchid cutting. So we're gonna hopefully source that soon. So I'm
And they were just
thinking
all vibrant colors, the orchids. Oh,
there were
yeah.
colors, there were beautiful, like mature orchids just climbing a coconut tree.
So
They were so
amazing.
beautiful. And I'm hoping one day I'm going to be able to source the cutting, not for 300 US dollars,
Right.
on a tree fern fiber board and placing it on this board so I can put it up on my wall as like a bit of a statement piece. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's the dream.
That's so awesome. I love that. Do you have any orchids now?
I tried orchids a couple of times in the past, but I've never truly figured out why they didn't bloom. Like
Mm-hmm.
the roots always looked fine. Maybe it was because I was impatient and I just thought, okay, this is destined to just not do anything, so I'll throw it out. But yeah, I think one of my goals this year is to try out more orchids because I've noticed being a bit of a rise in popularity of orchids. So I'm
Yeah.
definitely intrigued and I definitely
Yeah.
want to.
Do they have them like in your local nurseries and there in New
So
Zealand?
yes,
Yeah.
definitely. There's
Yeah, yeah.
sorts of um, but they're not quite what I want to try out. There's a
Yeah.
few particular orchids that I want to try out, but I don't know their names, unfortunately. I am the worst when it comes to plant names. I can't pronounce anything for the life of me.
Oh my goodness. You're in the same company. I feel good now. I feel more comfortable. I know I am the worst. I say things on here and then I listen back and I'm like, I think I called the Monstera Deliciano the other day and I was like, what did you say? Why did you say that? You know what it's called. Like, it's so weird. So I'm a big plant nerd, but I have no idea what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
As far as like the plant names are.
yeah,
I do take good care of my plants. I know how to do
yeah.
that. Do you have any holy grail plant products that you'd like to share? Like your top three things that
Okay,
you cannot live without as a plant parent?
okay. So, fertilizer called foliage focus from a company called Growth Technology. My goodness, it has
Yeah.
elevated my plants to just the next level. I was a big fan of Foliage Pro. Is that what it's called? I think it's called Super Thrive now, if I'm not mistaken. Loved that. It was so expensive buying it here in New Zealand, and I just thought, oh, maybe let's go find it somewhere else. And yeah, I found Growth Technology Fertilizer Foliage
Yeah.
Focus. And honestly, my Milano leaves, all thanks to that fertilizer. It's incredible.
That's
And
amazing.
I also pair it with a product from them as well called Root Zone. So Root Zone's like a root stimulant that I add to the fertilizer, and Chef's Kiss,
Yes.
they are amazing together. So those are my
Y-
two holy grails.
I love it. Yeah, I as well. This beauty from birth has been with GT growth technology, which is something new, in America, newer that has been in America. It's
Yeah.
the real, and I see leaves that are just huge without any browning and just like this glow about them. It is really something to be said. Yeah, shout
Yeah.
out to
Like,
GT Technologies.
so good. I just love how like they really did their research,
Mm-hmm.
because essentially what they've said is that their fertilizers include every single nutrient a plant could ever need, and that
Right.
sold me immediately. I'm like, yep, yep, give it
Yeah.
to me now.
Yeah. It's really what's helped. And even like I throw it out in the Miracle Garden because like I said, I'm growing this monsteras
Yeah,
I'm like, it's worth it because these are going to be beautiful centerpieces. And the leaves
yeah,
are just huge. Like I saw a new monstera leaf when I was out there earlier, and it was just like, and I'm a big
massive.
boy, and it's like 2 times the size of me, and I'm like, yes, this is going to be
Wow.
amazing. Yeah, it's insane.
I do have a couple of DIYs coming up. My main one, I actually want to get into aquatic plants. So 5 years ago, I tried to get into aquatic plants and I put like them in little jars. They were so cute, but I didn't know how to take care of them and want to explore trying to keep them alive and just kind of give my thoughts on my social media if anyone
Yeah,
else would like to try it. And yeah, it'll be definitely trial and error, but that's one of my main goals this year is to really try and experiment with different plants that I'm not comfortable with or even substrates.
yeah,
Lacquer is still of a learning thing for me. I'm not 100% comfortable with it, but I'm definitely learning as I go, which I love.
yeah.
And I think that everyone should be testing out different substrates for their plants.
Yeah, and that's what makes plants so fun. There's so many avenues
Yeah.
and ways that you can have the same plant and plant it 4 or 5 different ways. Self-watering containers.
Yes, good question. I used to have a couple of plants in self-watering pots, but they were in soil and they all died. And I swore off self-watering pots because I was just like, I don't want to kill my plants. But nowadays I'm seeing that, there's a lot more people using self-watering pots, and
Yeah.
I'm definitely slowly getting back into them now, especially for my bigger plants in my garage because I've got a bit of a plant trailing wall situation going on. And yeah, I definitely want to put a couple of them in self watering pots just because, yeah, it's just way easier for them to just get the water because I always forget to water them because they're not in here and I go,
Yeah.
oops, forgot
Do
again.
you have
And
plants
to be
throughout
honest,
your house?
mainly in my bedroom here, but also in my garage as well. I'm really running out of space because my little flat situation here, there's really not a lot of space. And my partner is like, so when are you going to stop buying plants? And I said, never,
Never. Exactly.
never. So, yeah.
Perfect answer. But you have most of your plants in soil mixture or a potting mixture.
Yes. Yeah, I've got a really good chunky soil mix, so basically all of my plants are in that. However, I am thinking about making a soil mix without any soil in it. I just want to see how that goes, but I was talking to a few friends of mine and they said you might have to water your plants more often, which
Yeah.
I'm like, I've got so many plants already. I don't know if I can if I can stay on top of the watering. That's like my number one thing at the moment is just trying to keep on top of the watering. It's even in winter, I'm still like, right, what needs watering? Because I'm always just because I think now I've got 165 plants, which
Wow.
is crazy. It's
That
so
is
hard to keep
crazy.
on top of everything. I have like an app where it tells me, well, it reminds me to water plants or to dust plants or so yeah, I try to spend
Really,
about 30.
that's amazing, Mads. That's so amazing. You have an app to remind you when to do this. I love it.
Yeah,
But you
sometimes
see a lot of them too. Like a lot of them are in your attention because these are in your bedroom. So it's so awesome that to have all those beautiful plants to wake up to.
Wrong sometimes, depending on what season, for sure.
Yeah. And the cats never bother them?
No, I don't know, but they just do not care. But I'm thinking about maybe changing, like I've got a bottom shelf here where I might change those plants to cat friendly ones, just in case that all of a sudden one day they wake up and go, right, how can I revenge on my mother?
So, oh my gosh.
Yeah. But yeah, other than that, they don't really care about them, which is great.
Awesome. Well, I'll end with this because I wanted to mention right here have some of the plant crystals too from the Plant Crystal Company.
Oh my goodness.
I have many through my plant collection, and they really do bring such harmony in the plant room. So I definitely want to say shout out to the Plant Crystal Company.
Plant Crystal, I have, I think, 40 of them. 40?
Wow.
Yeah,
that's amazing. Yeah. And they're traveling far, so that's so awesome. And then it's really awesome to think about, like, just the energy of the crystal, like, traveling through a whole... They're on their own journey and their own way, and then you put it in your plant. It's so cool.
Yeah,
I love
and the energy, and just plant crystals just really just elevate my plants even further. It's fantastic.
Yeah, because plants are magical. They are transformable. They could be a little mushy thing. You chop it off, and 3 months later, it's
voila.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. And that's the same for us too. Like, we can cut things off in our life and really, experience that growth. Thank you so much, Mads, for joining me. I loved having you and having this plant chat. 20th episode, so that's a huge milestone. I can't believe, really? That's awesome. I love that. I love that. Yes, it was. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I love hearing about all of your experiences growing up and how that has made you into the plant mom that you are today. I will love to have you back soon, so look forward to a shout out to have you back, because I would love to.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, love. Thank you, Mads, and thank you, plant people. Next week for episode 21, we have Ashley Strange from Strange Substrates. Awesome show. You don't want to miss it. Please be kind to yourself and others. And if you want that plant, buy that plant.